First of all, I don't call it a supporting role. I don't call any of my roles supporting roles because I think they hold their own. When I came in, I was actually waiting for those typical lead roles. So my mother said, are you waiting for somebody to just make a film for you? I said, I'm waiting for a right break. Somebody will come with a good role. And she said, until you prove yourself, until people see you perform, until you prove your mettle, why will anybody come to you for work? So take on a beautiful role, inconsequential of whether it is a typical lead or it's an important role. Now, with the OTTs coming in, that line is diminished. Now you are an actor. I feel the audience is changing. They are so receptive to newer stories, to newer ideas, to things that kind of, stimulate their creative instincts as well. Inconsequential of who the actor is, a star or an actor, a male or a female, doesn't matter anymore. So yes, that line has diminished away. So Train to Pakistan for me in many ways has been like a training ground because I was, I think, nearly 18, a child, absolute child. And I had some bold scenes. I had a kissing scene, I remember. And I had never kissed anyone before that. And in that film, I actually sang my own songs. So the old numbers. And what came very handy to me was my mother. She and I used to watch lots of black and white films because she was an ardent Dilip Kumar fan, Madhubala fan, Meena Kumari. And she used to make me watch these films. I've seen Mughal-e-Azam like so many times. She wasn't a typical mom. So we used to sit and she used to dance for us and she used to do all those expressions. And I used to make so much fun of her. She said, Mama, what faces do you keep making this and that and rolling your eyes? She said, this is how the heroines in old times used to do. It helped me very much to have those old-timer mannerisms, to sing like that, and to be childlike like that. I think it is one of my introduction scenes with him. He says, what are you here for? And she says, well, I'm here to do what is expected of me. And he says, what is expected of you? And I always still question, did she even know what was expected of her? I love that scene. And there's a little song that she sings. There's something that she's trying to impress the man. There's a little nervousness about her. I remember the sound designer of the film, Mr. Narinder Singh, who's done like lot of Gulzar Saab movies, Basu Chatterjee movies. He used to hear because I changed my voice in that film. So I made it very childlike to sound maybe 14 or 15. Not fake, but just a little voice texture. So he could hear when I used to rehearse. And he told me, this is perfect. What tone you just picked up right now is perfect. So I said, sir, you actually hearing me? He said, yeah, this is fine. So he guided me a lot through the role. Pamela guided me a lot with the little things that the sensuous Hasina is supposed to do. She's innocent and she's trying to be sensuous. So it was an intriguing experience. I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, I have a large audience here. But thanks again to all these seniors who were there all night standing right next to me. That's when I realized the beauty of doing cinema like this, where you bond beautifully with your co-stars, where you are learning something about yourself, where you are a little nervous, where you're not so sure what you're going to do. And yet you're very excited about doing what you want to do. And Train to Pakistan also paved the way for me to do the kind of cinema I wanted to do. Every role comprises of not just one element. You can't just describe one role as, yes, it has so many layers. There had to be a spunk in her. There had to be that zest for life. There had to be that innocence. There had to be that loyalty, everything. The learning process in this film, I think, is something I'll remember always. There was a certain dialect I had as SHABBO. Adi had made me speak to somebody in Pakistan, in Lahore, and made me hear how they talk. And then he made me mouth those dialogues in the same way. What astounded me absolutely was that he was listening to me with his eyes shut. And he had written the dialogues. And he said, okay, I like the fourth rehearsal that you did. I was like, he actually remembers the fourth rehearsal? For an actor, it's a high that you are being observed so closely. Some directors just say, acha karo na, aapko to aata hai sab. And some actually observe and give you these little nuances. And that makes you alert. That brings you on your toes. And I think when you have that little nervous energy, not very nervous, but when you have that nervous energy and you want to prove something, when you want to be noticed, when you want to make a mark, when you want to make a difference, when you really love something and you're very passionate about it. And that is the moment for you. I was in front of everybody that I wanted to tell that, hey, I will love to make a difference. And I had to do it at that moment. There was Yashji taking my first shot, and it was a monologue in a dialect that I didn't really know. And that was the first time I was actually introduced to sync sound as well. And that one page monologue I spoke in one go, in one take. When I went to the office one day and I asked, hey, how's the edit coming up? So this assistant came and he said, hey, listen, everyone's talking about you, huh? I was very surprised. I was like, really? Is everyone talking about SHABBO? And that was kind of reiterated at the premiere of the film, which was one of the biggest premieres I've seen. Yash Chopra film, doing it, being a part of it, not in the chiffon saris, but in a very different role, but doing it nevertheless, and feeling the high of doing it. Everyone was asking, who is that girl? Did you bring her from Pakistan? Is she a new girl? So I just looked up and thanked God, and I thanked Mom. And I just felt that in very unassuming ways, I was actually launched by Yash Chopra in the commercial movies. Rakesh Mehra is somebody who sets examples. And he has never given me a role that I felt I have done before. He's always believed so strongly in me and always called me when he thought there was something starkly challenging for me to do. So I used to randomly go for a chai or something to him. I thought he's just calling me for that. And I went and he said, so we are making a film on Wilkha ji, and so get ready with your dates. I was elated. I said, surely. Which role? And again, my face fell when he said the sister's role. I said, why are you making me play a sister's role? So he said, listen, don't go by typical norms the industry has. There are certain stories which have the brother-sister in beautiful roles. And this is one of them. If you see the film, you don't realize that she does not have lines in the film. I have no dialogues in the film, except for a word here and there. Nothing. Because everything that is done through her eyes. Happiness, sadness, loneliness. And that was the difficult part, and that's not me at all. I mean, I am very verbose about what I'm feeling, and I just blurt it out immediately. In fact, I'm very reactive. There were certain scenes that were so miraculous. The famous scene, that is the scene where the earring scene where he gives me the earrings. The much talked about scene. So I was wearing my shirt and my pants, and so I just sat down on the chula, the kitchen, and I just couldn't get it right. So suddenly Mr. Mehra came and he said, listen, why don't you just wear your costume and come? So I just went and wore my salwar kameez and put the dupatta on my head and covered myself. Suddenly I saw my body language changed. I sat differently at the chula. My house chores that I was doing, the way I was doing them changed themselves organically. And that was the power of the costume. One thing I realized also on the sets of Bhaag Milkha Bhaag was the subconscious mind that we have is not just ours, but also of the roles that you play. So when I was hugging Farhan, I thought, is that going to be the end of it? Are we ending the scene this way? And while hugging him, because we didn't do any rehearsal for that scene, Rakesh Mehra said, just flow with it and whatever comes to you organically, just do it. While hugging him, while my eyes were shut, I thought, it just came to my head from nowhere. I don't know where it came from. I still have that question in my head. Ye aaya kahan se? That when we had shot a month back with the younger Milkha, the younger part that we shot, and the father had saluted Milkha. It just came to my head. And I just, broke the hug and I just saluted him that way. And Rakesh Mehra didn't say cut. There was pin drop silence. I think everyone was crying on the set for that moment. So I realized that not only Divya Dutta has a subconscious, even me playing ISRI Kaur and how I played her and what I remembered of ISRI had a subconscious. As they say, a typical filmy thing, have you arrived? I think I arrived with Milkha. Shobha, I think again happened after Bhaag Milkha Bhaag, when I was the most popular sister in town. So I think it was a huge risk, I feel, for Sri Ram to have taken me on as the very sensual, um, uh, not sensual, a sexy worker. It gave me an image of glamorous, I would say. She's a lonely woman. She's a single woman and fighting a cause and yet falling for someone and being taken for a ride by him and feeling vulnerable all over again. So it was like a thing coming full circle for her. Sriram, I think, is a very calm person, very calm director. But oh my God, the ideas that come in his head and the turns and twists that he gives the role is unparalleled, I would say. He will make you hear the script. He will ask you what you feel about it. And if there's a valid point that you make, he will incorporate it. So you are a part of that filmmaking on every phase. That scene, I was actually a little tense because there was a very thin line between shouting at someone, yet feeling hurt and showing your anger. There was lots of things in play over there. And also your love for the man. She feels she's been taken for a ride where she's alone once again, where she thought she found love, but it was just that she was being used and as just an alibi, like an alibi that he was there with me. She actually loved him and loved him or attracted to him or thinking that this relationship is going somewhere. So beautiful, simple, the character graph, and yet very complex. That was the beauty of Shobha for me. This film, personally for me, was a very strange experience because I had just lost my mom and this was the first shoot I had gone to. On the set, I was this strong woman mouthing these powerful dialogues, and I would just go back to my vanity or go back to my hotel and totally break down. I didn't know who the real one was, the actor or me, because I was totally zoned out. And then, but somewhere, because I was so troubled inside, I gave it all the more to Ramandeep. Some powerful women in my childhood I must have really seen and put them in my head that came to my help, to my rescue in playing Ramandeep. I don't remember who I saw walking like that, but I surely did. My most favorite scene also is the climax scene in that film. And where there's like a changeover and where she walks away. What I loved about Ramandeep was that little thing, that little peek into her that we see, which is her vulnerable side. She was one director, Aparna, who I actually had lots of sittings with because there was something about Ramandeep that I thought she was very dominating. She was very strong. She was the antagonist, but there was still something as a woman I was missing in her. And since both of us, like we were talking about woman directors, we were like, क्या है इसमें कि इसकी कोई तो weak point है, इसका कुछ तो है. And that one scene came to Aparna. She got that scene where this woman is counting her teeth and she's saying, these number of teeth are devil's teeth. So where she's kind of telling herself that you have somewhere turned into a devil. You've turned into a woman you never were. You were so hungry for power that you became this. And that one scene, I think, defined her so beautifully. And there's one scene she has with the mother, where the mother is going on telling her, you're this, you're that. And she's coolly drinking and doing her stuff. Somewhere, power, somewhere life, somewhere wanting to make a difference in society as that leader, as that politician, made her do things that she wasn't, and she becomes somebody she's not. And now she's so thick-skinned that all she's looking at, all the focus that she has is on just being power hungry and getting it any which ways. And so yeah, I think Irada in many ways has been truly different and special. with Neeraj Pandey, he's one director. I never wanted him to reveal the plot to me. I said, let me just dive into it and you keep revealing the plot to me. So that was fun. The journey of Sadia coming in much later in the series and being the turning point there was very intriguing for me as an audience. And I didn't want to break that for myself. So every time I did a scene, I asked him, Acha many, like when I'm wearing that jacket, I asked him, so why have I worn this jacket? He told me the next scene and it just bowled me over. I was like, wow, this is it. There's so much happening within her own personal turmoil about her sister, about her past, was of course very complex. So the graph is so interesting, but what she's doing is straight. Everything is very straight. And I tell you, it's not very easy to play straight. We as actors are so trained to keep emoting that when you have to play straight becomes very difficult. You don't have to show your emotions to the audience as to what is going on in your head in that space. And that was the difficult part. I loved the tension he creates on the set as he shoots the scene. That scene where me and my sister are going after we've worn the bombs. I can't explain the kind of tension I was feeling while acting, that I don't know how the audience must have felt about, doing it. In this film, I think what I did a lot was unlearning what I was so used to doing about being an actor. I had to become raw all over again. And that was the beauty of Ram Singh Charlie. We as actors, if I'm looking down and I look up, उधर भी हम कुछ करके जाना चाहेंगे कि नहीं मैं थोड़ा look में जैसे I'll just create some magic, I'll look like this. He taught me you don't necessarily have to be creating a difference in every shot. Just look straight. Just do that. And look how a normal woman would do. She wouldn't think मैं ऐसे आँखों से पलकें ऊपर करूँगी. She wouldn't think that way. Just lift your eyelid. So this is the first time I actually went for workshops. And when we were doing the workshops, I realized मेरे तो dialogue ही नहीं है, बहुत कम इधर उधर. So one day I asked Nitin, I said, but I am not saying my dialogues or anything. So he says, just be quiet, just see your co-actors. So I did that for a few days. I was wondering, how is that helping me to just keep looking at these people? I didn't realize that I was getting to know them as people, as how they would be transforming as characters, as to how my relation with them would be. So I said, okay, now what do we do with my look? So he says, okay, one, no makeup for you. So I have done lots of Shyam Benegal movies, and there what we do is just do a little halka phulka feel good makeup where you look pretty and yet it's totally simple, no makeup. It's what we typically call a no makeup look. And so I thought that's what he meant, and I just covered my dark circles and just went and said, hey, I'm ready. He says, no, you're not. So I said, that's how it is. So I had tied my hair roughly. He says, just please go wash your face. So I said, what? He says, just wash your face. I went in the washroom. I didn't come out for 10 minutes because I was so nervous. I had never done that. I had never come in front of people, so used to 20 years of applying makeup in front of people, and suddenly not applying at all, coming as yourself. I'm fine with it at home, I'm fine with it with friends, but in front of professionals, in front of people, I wasn't used to it. And then he said, listen, there are two things. You cry very well. So I was very happy. I said, yeah, I do. He says, you're known for your emotional scenes. Please don't cry in my film. I said, but agar mujhe rona aa gaya to kya karungi? So he says, then refrain, but don't cry. The first day of shoot, I remember, was a scene where my husband has come to the bus stop to pick me, and he carries me and the child on the rickshaw. And then I went on the set, again, very, very self-conscious of how it would be. But the magic of that moment of seeing my husband change from somebody who believed in his passion for circus to becoming somebody who only wanted to earn money was a very subtle, quiet expression. And I forgot how I was looking. I forgot I hadn't worn makeup. I forgot I hadn't done my hair. I was Kajri. I felt like I had to cry, but I held myself back, and I realized why Nitin had told me to refrain, because that is this inherent strength of Kajri, where she gives strength to her husband without talking too much. That is Kajri. I realized all the workshops that I had done where I didn't speak a word all came to my rescue. All was of such big help when I was on the set, because I knew exactly who was what were they doing, what is my chemistry with them. It just became so organic and so effortless and so spontaneous. I think personally have always felt that I am an actor. I would love to do every kind of role, and I'm doing so. I'm doing like a lead role, I'm doing a negative role, I'm doing a comedy role, and I'm loving it all. And why should I be bound in a certain image or be called a certain name by anyone just because I've done one or two films which were those? I refuse to be bound in images, and I'm glad that time has finally arrived and I don't have to fight for it.